you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life. We want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, we get to chat with Trey Tatro. I met Trey through mutual connections and through the LinkedIn local event. I saw him at the first LinkedIn local event and I was like, that dude is cool. And finally got to connect with him. I'm like, hey, I saw you there. Sorry we didn't get a chat, but what's your story? So Trey, tell us your story and how you ended up being in this part of the world.
Well, yeah, you're right. The LinkedIn locals have been a great way of meeting people in the area. I think we've seen each other at pretty much every single one since then. I may have missed one. We've done some work together as well. You helped us with recording some videos for the education side of what evolved into Homeplete. So what got me here?
Mm-hmm.
I moved to Virginia at the beginning of this year, beginning of 2018. And before that, I was living mostly in Florida. I say that because, like I mentioned, I did live in Kansas for a year as well. So grew up in Pennsylvania, pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And moved down to Florida, went there for college, and then stayed for about 4.5 years after that. Mm-hmm. Moved out to Kansas for a year, back to Florida temporarily before moving up to Virginia. And, I'm loving it up here. There's just so many things that you can do, basically in all categories, whether it's, networking or entertainment, museums, just kind of everything that's going on, all the restaurants and stuff. It's a really cool place to be, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, there's no shortage of things to do in the DC area. It's quite, people come from all over the world, come here to check out the museums, check out the White House, and, everything else.
Yeah, and unlike what I feel like I've noticed with a lot of other cities is that it's not really restricted to not restricted, but limited to certain areas. It seems like pretty much anywhere you go around here, you can find something to do and to be entertained. And I think that's pretty unique to this area.
Well, that's awesome. So tell me something about this place that you didn't expect, or did you expect almost everything?
I think that this is moving to this area and going off doing something that was on my own as opposed to, having a regular 9 to 5. Those two things really kind of prompted me into getting into networking. And just, going to all these different events and meeting with people. Mm-hmm. And, it's something that's very easily done around here. I don't think it's as easily done in at least some other cities. I'm not saying that it's like that in all places.
Yeah.
But with that, what I would say really surprised me is, just how friendly everybody is. And, how easy it is to go about with, meeting people, learning what they do, talking about what you do, and then, helping each other make connections to other people. Because not only do you have such obviously a large government focus here, but also a large corporate concentration here. There's so many corporations that have, headquarters and stuff here. Even Amazon bringing, one of their 2 new locations to the area. Plus all the schools and everything. So, there's just a lot, there's a broad spectrum of people in industry here. And it's just surprising how, how for the most part, everyone tries to be really helpful to each other with it. And it's not as stuck up as you think it might be.
That is a really good point. I mean, we're not anywhere like New York. New York, I hear people are pretty closed off or pretty busy, pretty focused on what they're working on. But here, people, for the most part, I've found people are quite friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in some of the jobs that I've had before, I haven't traveled to every major city in the U.S. yet, but I've at least been to most of them. And I don't know, even before part of the reason that I moved here is because when visiting, granted, I do have some family here, which is why I would come and visit.
Yeah.
But just coming to visit, it just had a much different vibe than most of the other cities that I had been to.
Nice. Now, with HomePlete, sorry, I'm throwing something random in there.
That's okay.
Right. So you said you haven't visited many major cities. I think I've traveled through 30 states so far, and everywhere, I didn't really spend a lot of time because that's another thing that you get to absorb in the culture and see what's
Right.
going on. And that's what really you get to take in the culture and take in the people's views and everything. And this place is pretty awesome. I mean, it's very fast paced, but you can slow it down so much based on which part of the Northern Virginia, DC area that you end up in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. The more closer you go to DC and Baltimore and other major city like Arlington, it's fast paced, super fast. But if you move farther away, like I'm closer to the airport, it's much slower here, right? More suburban than anything else.
Yeah, I'd say you could probably find a correlation between the pace of things compared to how easy or difficult it is to find parking.
Absolutely, man. It's so annoying to me when you have to pay for parking, right? And it's like, come on, dude. And especially if you're in Rockville, because even in Rockville, there's areas that you get free parking, but most of the time, if you're close to downtown or close to the city and other city official buildings, you'll find that you have paid parking at exorbitant amount.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
half the time it's easier, not even easier, but also cheaper, or at least equal price to Uber into DC or Lyft into DC, as opposed to driving yourself there and then finding parking.
Exactly. You might as well ride a bicycle.
or one of those scooters now.
Exactly. So I haven't seen those scooters around. I maybe in Baltimore I saw some, but I don't know about DC if I've seen any.
Okay. Yeah, I saw some a couple weeks ago. So
nice.
Yeah. Fortunately, unlike in the South Park episode, I didn't trip over any. But
Good. What we recently got is a hoverboard through Target. It was on sale, and I picked it up for $100, and I was like, "This is so cool!" And my kids are riding it. So we haven't taken it outdoors yet. We've been riding just indoors. And since we have gates up for my little kid, we have very limited, even indoors. But as soon as spring comes, that thing's gonna go out, and we'll see how many falls we get, because
that's why you don't see that one.
Exactly. They recommend you put on a helmet, you have some knee pads. So we'll see what happens.
I will say one of my, I guess we could call it favorite times that I saw someone using one of those. Favorite more in the sense of really, but it was when I was still down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this guy as I was driving along, and he was pushing his baby stroller, but he was pushing the stroller while he was on a hoverboard. And I was like, oh, come on, man.
Dude, I'm telling you, once you ride one of these things, it's a mind changer. Actually, we went to a wedding earlier in the summer, and at one of the weddings, the videographer was using a hoverboard, and it's got this camera gear on him, and the camera is on the stabilizer itself, but then he's moving on the hoverboard. And I was like, dude, that looks so cool. Like, all the footage that he's shooting must be super clean, because he can walk backwards, he can, move forwards in very smooth fashion.
Yeah,
And
I guess that's a new way to zoom in and out.
yeah, it was really cool. So growing up, right? So how did you get into, let's say, entrepreneurship? What was your motivation? And because I'm working on some book for myself. It's not a book for myself, but I'm working on a chapter for the Magnetic Entrepreneur, and those are some of the things that I'm writing about. How did I get into entrepreneurship? And
Yeah.
I've got way too much stuff. So you tell me.
I think what it kind of ultimately came down to was just the idea and the challenge of having an idea
Mm-hmm.
and then actually turning it into something.
Yeah.
Making that idea become a reality, and building a business out of it, and also to show that, hey, the idea wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that there aren't plenty of terrible ideas along
Mm-hmm.
the way, because there certainly are. And so, I mean, I guess, kind of entrepreneurship itself has always kind of been the focus for me. And there's been some other, ideas that I've pursued, and, things that I've kind of worked on in the past in various industries.
Yeah.
And so, kind of the baseline of that and what they all really have in common is that at the end of the day, it was the entrepreneurship part that was, most appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that you can basically, plug in or take out different parts of, whether it be the business itself or the industry, something that works here might work with another idea later on. And you just kind of keep learning from that.
Yeah.
But, this year was the first time that I really decided to, get serious on it and fully focus on it. And that was that was the intention with moving to Virginia.
Yeah.
I just know how much opportunity that there is in this area, again, with, all of the networking, all of the different government and industries and colleges and everything. And so, when I moved here, it was, okay, if I move there, then I'm going to be focusing on starting a business full time, not still having a regular 9 to 5 and then trying to do it in the hours afterwards, because I had done that in the past.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, for some people it does. And I think, one of the biggest things that kind of can help to actually make that work is having someone else work on it with you. Because that's something that I haven't done in the past. And, when you don't have anyone else helping you with it, then it literally is, if it's going to get done, you're going to be the one doing it. And if you're constantly trying to do that, after working your full-time job, and also, not necessarily in the regular business hours of everyone else, it can just make it hard to really start and find consistent traction.
No, man, that's absolutely true. Focusing on one thing and making sure that you're getting through everything, right? And focusing. Sorry, I'm just circling the idea
Yeah.
of how to get that. And it's really important that you put your entire mind into your idea and give it all you've got. And then if you don't see that it's not going to work, then you have options to pivot. But then if you're only giving, it's like you're trying to make 10 sandwiches at the same time with different ingredients.
Right.
You're not going to have a full sandwich for an hour.
Right.
You're really hungry. Why am I making 10 different sandwiches? So, no, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, and that's a really good metaphor for it. Like you said, you could be working on 10 different things, or you could just focus on the one thing and enjoy it a lot sooner and actually get the benefit out of it a lot sooner.
Exactly.
Or at the same time, learn that those ingredients don't go together.
Yeah. Exactly.
And start over.
Yeah, start over. Sweet, man. So tell me, if you had a hobby to pick or had the opportunity to be in a hobby, what would it be? Or did you have hobbies growing up?
I think in hindsight, yes, I did have hobbies growing up. I think in hindsight, if I had one that I could, get into sooner, it would probably be reading and, reading nonfiction. I mean, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with, reading fiction all the time, because at the end of the day, that's still going to help with, vocabulary, thinking things through, all the benefits that come along with reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, it would ultimately come down to kind of what is your goal, that you're wanting to, what are you hoping to get out of it? But for me, really getting into reading has been a big thing this year. I would say probably starting late last year. And, just reading different business books, or, books, even if it's on another industry or something like that. And it kind of helps to, it helps you through the thinking process and basically just coming up with ideas and learning things a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think a lot of times it can be, I don't know how to do this, so I need to find the right people to talk to and the right consultants to talk to and to pay to teach me how to do this or to help with it. And, that can certainly help you over the learning curve a lot faster.
Yeah.
But, I think a much cheaper alternative is to, just pick up a bunch of books on the topic.
Yeah.
As long as they're good books on the topic, and, just start going through those, and learning about whatever it is, that you're trying to learn about, and whatever topic that is. Because at the end of the day, that's probably written by somebody who has experience in it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it's not as fast,
Mm-hmm.
and, it's not as hands-off, but it's certainly cheaper. And it's a way for you to actually learn about it, as opposed to just outsourcing it and then, taking someone's word at this is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And not really understanding the process behind it.
Yeah, learning the process is extremely, extremely important. And I remember a few years ago. Hello, Hacks and Hobbies listeners. Are you looking to share your opinions, give me feedback, or tell me what you're thinking? Send me a voice message. Voice messages are an easy way for you to send me audio that might end up in future episodes of Hacks and Hobbies. They're the latest feature from Anchor, the platform I use to make this podcast. Here are some of the things I would love to hear from you. Are you enjoying the direction the podcast has taken for Season 2? Is there someone I can interview that will absolutely help you gain more knowledge? What do you think of the different topics that I talk about on the podcast with my guests? You can send me a voice message right now from wherever you're listening. Just tap the link in my show notes. I can't wait to hear from you. There was a website called the 30 Days Challenge, and this gentleman would challenge you to build, come up with a few ideas and write up articles. And basically, in 30 days, your challenge was to make $1 off of that one idea that you came up with from this whole exercise.
Right.
And it was genius. It was great. I actually tried to go look for that person, and when I searched for 30-day challenge on Google, there's hundreds of results coming back, right? Because so many 30-day challenges now. And 30-day challenge is actually a joke, but it's not really, because it also, it builds the muscle. But if you want to be habit forming and form a habit of anything at all, you need to do a 60-day challenge, because that's how long it truly takes for habits to build in your mind.
Yeah, I've heard that I guess the scientific best amount of days is 66.
Yeah, 66.
But like you said, that 30 days, especially if you're trying to test an idea when it comes to entrepreneurship.
Oh yeah.
Then that's a great way to do it, and it kind of lends itself to the lean startup approach, which is basically just keep testing at the bare minimum and refine, test, refine, test, refine.
Yeah.
And if you follow that 30-day challenge, then if you do make $1 from it, sure, you probably are not in the green on it, and you probably wouldn't say that spending a month working for $1 is worth your time.
No,
but
it's that learning process.
Exactly. And at the same time, it is used basically as a verification as to whether or not it's an idea worth pursuing. Because if you find out that no one's willing to pay for it, then if you save yourself 6 months of working on something before taking it out and finding that no one's willing to pay for it, then it's better to find out in that first month.
No, you're absolutely right. That totally makes sense. What's your main goal for Homeplete.com?
With Homeplete, what we're really focusing on doing is kind of creating a one-stop shop for somebody who is or will be at some point a homeowner. And basically the idea behind that, because one-stop shop, that sounds pretty generic nowadays, but what we mean by that is really everything from the education side of learning about buying and selling a home if it's your first time, or even if it's not your first time. It's something that isn't done all that often, and the market can change, the way that things are done can change. So helping people be prepared for that, as well as being a homeowner, and then introducing a new way to do a home search. So we have a social home search on our site where people can invite their friends, family, real estate agent, whoever, into their home search to help them, look at houses, look at different things at the house, and can take notes right there, and everyone can share their notes together online on the website. And then, like you said, helping someone find a real estate agent who is actually a good fit for them, because there's, give or take, about 2 million real estate agents out there in the US. And on average, a person will interview anywhere between 1 and 2.7 real estate agents before they hire someone.
Wow.
So, and there's a lot of different things that go into, a property. And it's not just one real estate agent. It's not, everyone does the same thing. And I kind of make the comparison of a doctor. There's doctors who have different specializations, and same thing with real estate agents. So our goal is to help people find the right one who does, has the right kind of specialization to help them with their home purchase or sale. And then the final step of it, which we're still working on getting this implemented into the site, is basically a moving manager. So once you know where you're moving, when you're moving, this tool will help you basically, through that entire timeline of kind of like, here's what you need to do this week to be ready. And I mean, it gets down to the details of, separate what's going to be donated versus what you're packing. So it gets pretty detailed on it, and then also helps with things like forwarding your address, setting up your new utilities, your new driver's license, all that kind of stuff.
Nice. Very cool. I mean, something that people would do when they're moving to a new location. They have to do all of these things. Like when I moved from Colorado, I had to go through most of these steps myself. Do the driver's license, find the utilities. Of course, the real estate agent absolutely helps in making sure that you have the right utilities turned on. And sometimes if you're renting a home from a place, then they just say, these are the utilities that are already here. You just gotta put it under your name and start paying them. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And, try to, again, keep it all in one spot. So it's not, okay, now you need to go find the information for this, utility company and that one, or figure out, what it is that you need to do for your license here. Again, just try to keep it all as simple as possible for someone, because as you and I both know from past experiences, it's already stressful enough moving and packing and going through all those motions. So whatever we can do to help make it easier.
No, yeah, that's totally awesome. So how did you come about this idea and bringing all this together? Was it your past experience or something new that you learned?
I think it was kind of a combination of things. I got into real estate at the beginning of this year, and part of that came from past experience. I lived in Kansas for a year, and while I was there, I was looking at buying a home. And I think during that process, I kind of went about it the normal way. Well, what's now the normal way of looking online and then, seeing a property that I thought looked interesting. So I'd request more information, and a random agent would call me and say, okay, I can meet you there at this time, and, we can see it. And I did that for a few places. And I think it was probably the fourth or fifth agent that I worked with who I actually thought, this is someone that I would work with. Just because the other agents that I met with, it was kind of like, okay, let's walk through, any questions? And it was like, well, can you kind of help guide me on some of this? Because this is my first time doing it. And, some of them I would even text them the next day and be like, hey, you said you were going to follow up with me on this, and I haven't got it yet. And then they still wouldn't send it to me anyway. And I was like, okay. So, and then, but that, the last agent that I met, he was really good, really helpful, and, really good about just kind of walking through the entire process, taking the time to explain everything, even when I was asking things probably 3 or 4 times. And, just seeing how night and day of a difference it can make. I think that was kind of what originally, kind of planted the seed of getting into real estate. And then once I was in it, I think it's one of those things where you kind of think it's a job that pretty much everyone can do. But once I got into it was when I realized just how many specializations that there can be within the industry, and how, you can really tailor your niche as an agent to know one particular thing or one particular area, and, just really be stellar at that. And, something like that, of course, comes with time and experience. But then, I kind of recognized the issue of the fact that agents spend a lot of time, getting that experience and that expertise. But at the same time, buyers and sellers don't really take the same amount of time to find someone who does have that expertise, on average. And, this is like the generic saying for real estate. It's one of the largest transactions of your life. So, it is good to find someone who has that time and experience. So that's why I decided to go ahead and go down this route of actually helping kind of bring the two together.
That's really interesting because, as you're talking about people's expertise and the different areas of expertise that you need in the home buying industry, you gotta, I can't list out those items, but it makes a lot of sense. And when you mentioned that, you're not getting the right type of response that you're looking for, it's maybe because we are, number one, living in a type of world where everything's just accessible to everyone. And so what we try to do is we try to spread ourselves thin, so thin that you can't focus on the one thing that you need to be focusing on, right? And this way, it's like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to see which one will give me the quickest results or give me the fastest turnaround time. And we end up losing focus on the thing that we should be focusing on. And that is a big problem. And so especially for people joining and becoming new new real estate agents, right? It's either new real estate agents or agents that have a lot of experience that go into, okay, I don't really need to do this. I already have experience in this. Let me go find something new. Let me go, so I don't know what's going in their mind and why, how you were able to come with this. So that's really crazy.
Yeah. And, like you said, and it doesn't apply just to real estate, but once you're in something for long enough, you can, you get stuck in kind of a routine of how to do things, or, things kind of get put on autopilot, and, that can be fine. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that there isn't something out there that could help make it easier, or someone out there that could help, make it easier, or just help remove you having to do some of those things on autopilot, and instead letting someone else kind of help with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, that's some good stuff. Well, I wish you best of the luck. So people can find information on homefleet.com. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, you can check out homefleet.com. Where else can people find you, Trey?
So one of the other things that I do is I have a podcast of my own that I've been recently starting back up, and I can't say that it's the same production quality or the same frequency as yours. But you can actually find the episodes for that on HomeFleet's website as well. And and what that podcast is called is Military Transition Stories. And basically that's talking with either veterans or active duty members, or spouses of either active duty or veterans, and just talking about basically the transition from military to civilian life, what that was like for them, the experiences, any advice they can share to people who are going to be going through that. And then, also talking about what it is that they're currently doing and how their time in the military helped lead to where they are now.
Well, Trey, it was really awesome chatting with you. We'll need to do this again and, talk a little more about marketing, because that's something I wanted to get into.
Well, that's perfectly fine, because right now I'm in the process of all of the books that I'm reading are marketing, and at the point of trying to learn, okay, how the hell do we do this?
Yeah.
So it might be better to talk about that at a later date.
Sounds good. Sounds perfectly fine to me.
But yeah, no, happy to be on, and thanks for taking the time for us to be able to talk about this.
Yeah, man. Fantastic. Well, talk to you soon, man.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, Junaid. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to this Hacks and Hobbies episode. Junaid would love to hear from you, so please leave a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. Visit hacksandhobbies.com to find additional information on the guest today, as well as the show notes.